D.E. Bailey Jr. was born August 5th, 1917, in Shady Grove, Florida, near Perry, where his father worked in an uncle's country store. Shortly thereafter, he moved to Sermons, or Ebb, a few miles away, and his father owned a drugstore, which also housed a doctor's office. The family was prosperous, and his mother was able to stay at home and teach her son to read and write at a very young age. They lived in a large two-story house with one of the few Ford Model Ts in town, a wind-up telephone, and all were living what D.E. recalls as an idyllic chicken every Sunday existence. The family relocated to Cross City, Florida, when D.E. was still a toddler, and here his father was a rather prominent merchant businessman who purchased a general store and put an addition on it where D.E.'s mother was in charge of a thriving dressmaking business with several employed seamstresses. It was the booming 1920s, and young David was a happy kid. But a malaria epidemic struck young David Bailey and his mother, and the family sold the properties and the businesses and came to Plant City in 1923. His father opened Bailey Cash Store on Reynolds Street, and young David began formal school, first at Central Grammar School, located on Wheeler Street, and then switching to Esther Burney Elementary when it opened. When the Great Depression came and forced his father to close the doors of Bailey Cash Store, his mother returned to teaching, and D.E. Bailey wound up in Mount Enon Strawberry School. He recalls the schoolboys like himself as barefooted with the girls wearing simple cotton dresses, some of these made from sacks. He remembers bounding about during recess under wide-brimmed straw hats. Over the years, Mr. Bailey went to school in Plant City area, at Knight Station, Stonewall Jackson, Dover, and he graduated from Plant City High School in 1934. During his school years, he enjoyed many things. He picked strawberries for 2 to 3 cents a quart. He liked sports, especially running and jumping. He liked English, Latin, history, and music, and he participated in drama, claiming to be a real ham actor. He was in the Boy Scouts, and he was active in the First Baptist Church, which incidentally was built the same year of his family's arrival in Plant City. After high school graduation, he spent a year or two working at some farms and as a clerk in the men's department of a downtown merchant. But pretty soon he yearned for more education. So in 1935, he entered Florida Southern College to major in education, and he worked to put himself through. He achieved his licentiate of instruction in 1937 and began his lifelong career of being an educator, first in Tampa, but moving to his old alma mater, the Plant City High School, in 1939. This was an exciting time in his life when he worked with the school paper, directed plays, taught English, history, speech, and especially when he fell in love with Eloise DuBois, who he had known from Plant City High School. She had gone away to college, and she too had returned to teaching in the area. D.E. and Eloise were married in the summer of 1940 at the First Baptist Church by Dr. Parrish, who later became the president of Stetson University. However, less than 8 months later, the war in Europe had heated up enough to initiate the military draft, and it hit the newlyweds and D.E. by March of 1941. Despite his new marriage and his incomplete school teaching year, Mr. Bailey was the first married man called to service from Plant City. During the next 4 years, his tour of duty took him from Plant City to training and eventually overseas to New Guinea, the Dutch East Indies, the Philippines, and finally home in the summer of 1945 to a 14-month-old son, David Merrill, who he saw for the first time. He returned to teaching in Plant City at the high school. During his career in teaching, he continued his own formal education under the GI Bill, and he became certified in elementary and secondary school administration. His daughter, Randy Sue, was born in 1949. The same year, he was appointed principal to Knights Elementary School. But soon he returned to Plant City to Jackson Elementary as principal, and finally was appointed principal at Bryan Elementary in 1957, where he remained for 20 years, retiring in 1977. This is the same year that his book, co-authored with Miss Quintilla Gear-Bruton, Plant City, Its Origin and History, was first published. It later saw a second edition in 1985 in conjunction with the city's centennial celebration and was an aid to the East Hillsborough Historical Society, where he was a founding board member and a life member. During his time in Plant City, he has always been active, both professionally and personally. He taught Bible class at the First Baptist Church of Plant City for over 48 years. He was on the State Mission Board of the Florida Baptist Convention. He was on the board of the Florida Baptist Historical Society. He was chairman of the board and president of the Hillsborough Education Association. He served on the executive board of the Florida Department of Elementary School Principals, and he was appointed by the state governor to the Florida Education Council. He was active in Plant City Lions Club and the Plant City Kiwanis Club. He was a member of the Tampa Bay Historical Society and the Florida Historical Society. He was awarded Plant City's Outstanding Citizen Award in 1978. As you can see, he was more than just a teacher. I have heard it said, quote, "A good teacher teaches the subject. A better teacher teaches the students. The best teacher teaches life to us all," end quote. Mr. Bailey has always been a help to the heritage efforts of this town, to any who ask. He is a true gentleman, a warm guiding hand, and it is my privilege to present our first Plant City Photo Archives Heritage Award to a man with mighty big shoes, Mr. D.E. Bailey.